Welcome to the Legacy and Light podcast, where we are creating a culture of community by sharing stories of what God has done. I'm Allie Maddox, your host for today's episode, and we have an awesome guest that I'm sure many of you already know, but we have Kendra. Woo, thank you for being on the podcast today.
We're so excited.
So tell us just a little bit about you right now, and where would we see you around the church?
Yeah, so I get to hang out with the students from 7th grade to 12th grade, so the middle schoolers and high schoolers, just getting to hang out with them and love on them. It's just been such a blast.
That's awesome. And a very specific type of person.
Yeah.
Teenagers are fun.
Yes.
We love them all.
They keep me on my toes.
I'm sure they do.
For sure.
Well, let's just dive in. So tell us about early childhood. A lot of times I've asked, were you raised in a Christian home or not in a Christian home? What was early childhood for you?
Yeah, so really early, I was exposed to a lot of different religions really early on. And I think that was honestly confusing for me. So I have some family members, like my grandpa is a Mormon, member of the LDS church. My parents were Baptist, but I had family members that were unbelievers, and my other grandparents were primitive Baptist. And so I was just really confused. There's all these different things I'm exposed to. But when I would ask, hey, what's the right one? What do I believe? It was kind of one of those things where it's oh, you figure out what you want to believe. And I don't think at a young age anyone told me the gospel. And it was just kind of hey, figure it out for yourself. And because it's all these people around me are believing something different, I was just I don't even know. And so I think from an early age, I viewed everything as religion. Okay. And that's what it was. And so I was just kind of not interested. It looks like just kind of like a checklist, or just because everything was so, every religion was so different, it's almost like I can pick and choose what I wanted to believe and how to follow that. As I had gotten to high school, I started to feel really empty, just being when you're a teenager, you want to feel fulfillment in somewhere. So then I think I began to start searching for something, but I didn't even know where to start and what that looked like. Because to me, Jesus was a religion. It's all I viewed it as. And religion was just a set of rules to me. And so I began to search for fulfillment in the world, and all the different things the world feeds you, and all the lies. And of course, that just left me more and more empty. Later into high school, one of my best friends, who loved the Lord so well, really encouraged me to go to church with her. I'd been going to church, but just having a friend there just made it more fun to go to the student ministry and be a part of the youth group. And a lot of the youth group leaders there just loved me so well. And just they would come to my basketball games, supporting me all the time, that I just thought was so cool. So that kept going to church. And I definitely was going for the wrong reasons, but the Lord used that. As I got I think I was a junior in high school, one of the leaders sat me down and explained to me the gospel for the first time. Wow. Which I think is just crazy, because I grew up going to church, but because I think I was so hardened from such a young age, I never even attempted to listen. And I think the Lord used those youth group leaders soften my heart over the time. And so she sat me down, what? I've been missing out all these years. This is so cool. And it took a long time for me to fully let that sink in and surrender my life to the Lord, especially because I had all these misconceptions in my head. But this summer going to my senior of high school, I was okay, I want to surrender my life to the Lord again, and just experience walking in His goodness. But even it wasn't until my freshman year of college, someone sat me down my first week of college, which I'm so thankful for, and they asked me on the Kennedy question, which is on a scale of 1 to 100, if you were to die today, how sure are you going to heaven? Which I had never heard before, which I think is really frequently asked around the church now, which I'm very happy about. But I never heard it, and so I was maybe a 70, an 80. And they're no, man, if you believe that Jesus Christ died on the cross for you, you're saved, you're 100, you don't have to work for it, this is assurance, and I was what? That just changed my life again. And so even is the Lord was just slowly adding pieces to my life, fully revealing Himself.
Yeah, that's great. So you actually were going to a church. Was your whole family go, or your mom and dad, you were going to the church with them? I'm trying to remember all the different ones that you talked about. Was it Baptist or was it the Mormon? What church were you?
Yeah, so I grew up going to a Baptist church.
Okay.
But I think it was just, even from a young age, I just wasn't interested. I was one of the kids that would sneak off to the bathroom or be on my phone the entire service. It never even registered what was going on.
After high school, went to college, you had someone sit you down, and then what was like, did you get plugged into a different church then, or it was the same one that you were going to that you got started getting plugged into?
Yeah, so when I came to college, I moved like 10 hours away from home.
Okay,
So I moved
so you're
here to
not from
Lubbock.
here.
I'm not from Lubbock. And so I moved, I didn't know a single person.
Oh my.
And so I showed up, I'm like a new believer, and I'm just like, man, I don't even know where to start. I don't know anyone. And I like really struggled my freshman year to make friends.
Heck.
Yeah, so I'm a senior tech right now. Yeah. And so I started going to a church my freshman year. Well, when I got to college, I was like, okay, I get to decide right now, do I really want to like still commit to the Lord, or like do I want to have this newfound freedom and like jump into that fully? But I'm like, that's why I'm so thankful for that conversation. The girl, just random girl who sat me down, couldn't even tell you her name, like I don't even remember it. And sat me down to have that conversation. I left that day and I was like, okay, like I'm gonna surrender like to the Lord, like fully pursue Him. So I started going to a church here in Lubbock for about like 6 months. I was like, man, I really want to get involved in the church. And it was a good church I was going to, but I feel like I was just in the college ministry. But I wanted to be a part of a church where I feel like I had like mom's access to, or like families that I could be a part of, and be like get to serve and volunteer in church. And so I had like stepped away from that church, and one of my friends was begging me to come to Southcrest with her. And I was like, no. And then eventually she was like, please just like come. And so I like came fully just trying to appease her. Like the first Sunday I showed up there, this was like 2 years ago, there was like a small group for college students at the time. There was like 6 of us that met in some like classroom, Zach. But it was like so cool. Like all of them were so excited for the Lord. And I felt like I met more people that first Sunday than I had met like at the other church I was going to. So I kept coming, and yeah, man, it was just like so sweet to be surrounded by community. And I think like I was poured into immediately joining here at Southcrest, and I think just helped. Like, man, I asked all these questions and everyone was so willing to answer, and has really just poured into my faith, and just like have accountability here, which has really grown my faith as well. So so thankful for Southcrest. Know it has been a part of my journey.
Yeah. Let's see. You wanted to be really involved, and so when did you? Because you were a resident for a while. So what kind of pulled you into going into like more as like a job?
Yeah, I started attending Southcrest like a month left in the school year of my freshman year. So I went home for the summer, and ministry was never a thing to me. Like, never on the like. It was always like also like serve the Lord, but like I'm not gonna do it full time. It was never even an option in my mind. And I went home that summer and just stumbled upon being an intern at a church. Just they needed help and I needed a job. So I served there. Yeah. And then I came back my sophomore year, and I was like, man, that was really fun. I got to serve with students all summer. Maybe I'll ask to be a volunteer here at Southcrest. That's how I can serve and get plugged in here. Because I still didn't know anyone really at Southcrest but like 10 college kids. Yes. And so I like looked up on the Instagram, the students page, just so I can like see what it's about. And I saw they were hiring a resident. It's like, well, that could be fine. So I like put it in my back pocket and like kind of forgot about it. And then like 2 weeks later, the girl who invited me to Southcrest in the first place was like, hey, there's a residency position hiring in student ministry. Like, you need to apply. I was like, what? Like, I hadn't told anyone. Like, how did you know this? That I was like interested. She was like, I know you. Like, you're perfect for it. You need to apply. And like, really encouraged me in that. So I like went home that day, applied, and like even just going through the residency, it was in my mind like, okay, it's just going to be a good place for me to serve. Like, I love students. I think they're fun, and just get to connect with them. And then I'm going to still continue to, I was studying sports management. Okay. And so I wanted to be a high school basketball coach was the goal. But that was like fully my plan. About a year into my residency, I just had like this passion for like connecting students to Christ. Just like I love discipleship and just being relational with them. Like it's so fun just like that they allow me to be a part of their life, like welcome me into their journey of wherever they am, and just getting to do that with them. And so I had this like passion in my heart. I'm like, okay, what do I do with that? Like, and I felt the desire to like coach and all these like other jobs I had been dreaming of. Like, I didn't have that desire anymore. It's like fully like, man, I just want to serve the Lord, and like this is where I'm passionate about, and like I can't imagine like doing anything else. Yeah. So like starting year 2 of my residency, I let like Austin, I was like, hey, I think like ministry is where I want to pursue. And so he allowed me to start speaking on Wednesday nights some and getting to like dip my toes in the water there. Was that scary at all? Oh, it's terrifying. So nerve-wracking. I think the first time I ever spoke, Kelly let me speak in preteens. And I'm, like, shaking. I'm like, half of them aren't even paying attention to me, but, like, it's still, like, the scariest thing ever. But then it's, like, so cool afterwards. Like, the first time I spoke in student ministry, like, I, like, literally couldn't think of anything else for, like, 3 days. I was so nervous. Then afterwards, they're, like, all are so, like, sweet about it, so supportive. And I'm like, this is great. Like, this is so fun. And I love just, like, how awesome is it that, like, my job is I can sit for 3 hours and just study the word. Like, I get to just study for my job. Like, it's so fun. Yeah, so then this summer, it was, a position open for full-time in student ministry, which has just been an answer to a prayer. And I'm just so excited to, like, step into that role as the associate student minister here, and just getting to, like, walk alongside of the students full-time, which is just really exciting. And yeah, so I don't think ministry was ever something I was ever, like, even thinking about, but it's something the Lord, like, called me to, and has been equipping me, like, throughout my life. I can look back and see, like, where he has been, like, equipping me, and, like, providing just, like, the passion to get to know students, get to hang out with them, and just different traits and characteristics that fall into that position.
Yeah. Look, no, I love that. A very, I think it's a cliche thing that I was told a long time ago was like, God a lot of times doesn't necessarily call the equipped, he equips the called. And I really like that, just because, like, things that we're not, you hear it a lot of, like, I don't know if that was ever something I really was seeking out, but God told me to do it, so I'm going to do it.
For sure.
And then he gives you resources and people and positions to step into. That's so cool. And I know that you have changed so many lives of students here, and I know that they love you a lot. And your video that you put out last Wednesday, tricking them, was beautiful, because you could see how much everybody was like, I'm sorry, she's going where? But if you haven't seen the video, it's wonderful. She just tricks the students of saying, oh, I found a position, I'm going somewhere. And then at the end, she reveals that it's here and they get to keep her. And it was really cool to see just how much you are loved in that ministry. And it's because you pour it to them and you love them. And it's so very evident. So I thank you for being that for them, especially not really thinking that was what was going to happen with your life, but being very open with it and feeling that call from the Lord and being like, okay, yeah, let's do it. Yeah. Well, let's be here. This is what I'm doing. So backing up just a little bit throughout all the things, because, like, it feels like your life has very much been almost like a whirlwind of thinking you're going this way and now we're going this way, and you found the Lord in college, kind of, and, like, how has your walk, like, been from then to now? Have there been any times that you were like, I don't actually really know if this is the direction that I want to go, or has it been pretty steady from that girl sitting you down and telling you the gospel until now?
Yeah, I think a whirlwind is the best way to describe it. Because even just my freshman year of college, it was like, man, I grew up going to church, but I don't know anything. And so, like, I spent most of my freshman year just studying the Bible, because I was like, I know, like, a few VeggieTale stories, but besides that, I really don't know most of the main stories a lot of people who did grow up in church would know. And so I just fell in love with, like, man, I just want to know the Lord and just, like, study him, and just be in his presence. And so I think that grew, and grew, and I think it was all over the place of, like, oh, I don't know what I want to do. And I think even I have a lot of friends who I'm involved in a campus ministry, and we're surrounded in the presence of the Lord a lot. And I think it's really easy to just be like, oh, I need to, like, serve the Lord. Maybe that looks like full-time ministry. And so I think that's something I struggle with. Like, is it full-time ministry, or is it like a not vocational ministry, but, like, that is your ministry too. Right. And so that's something I don't like school. Let's say it was a high school basketball coach or whatever I ended up choosing. Like, they need the Lord just as much in those businesses and walls as well. And so that's something I had to walk alongside of, like, man, I want to be obedient to where the Lord's calling me. And I think, like, I did see evidently, like, it was ministry, it was here, and just the way he was shaping me in that. But, like, man, like, the Lord's calling us outside the church walls too. And just, so I think that was something that was hard too, is that, like, the Lord's obviously here in this ministry in church, but he needs, like, he's going to use his people in schools other businesses, whatever. There's so many other jobs. And so there's like, that's people's full-time ministry. And so I think I struggle with is like, could that be another form of obedience, is not being in ministry, but making whatever job I choose my full-time ministry. And so I spent a lot of time like having to go to like mentors and discipleships and be like, hey, I need you to help me discern. But I'm like, hey, I don't know what the best thing is and like where the Lord's calling me. And so having to lean into like other people's wisdom has been really important the last couple of years.
I love that. If you read the book, I've talked to Faith about this, Just Do Something.
No, Lisa.
We recommend it a lot to like high schoolers because the whole point is like, if you're following the Lord and you're just going through life and you're choosing to teach about him and live your life that's for him, whatever you do is probably correct. Right? So we put a lot of weight on, well, if I make this decision, then that means that this doesn't happen. What if I was supposed to go over here? And it's like, your life is not this like puzzle piece that God hopes you figure out. You know, he's like, hey, if you can do well in ministry and you can do well being ministering to people outside of full-time ministry. And those are both good things. Right. And so we tell that a lot to students that are just like kind of in that frozen state of, oh, I don't know if I need to go to this college or this college. If I don't go to this college, then that means I miss out this. And I was supposed to go over here. And it's like, there's not really a supposed to if you're leading, if you're like, you're working and living your life for Jesus. Like you're probably doing the right thing, you know? And so that sometimes that's hard because we want life to be really black and white, and not saying that you did this, but that just kind of reminds me of how whenever we minister to, or we disciple young people, they're just like younger people, that it's probably right. Yeah. Right? Like you're doing a good thing and God is going to bless that. I'm really excited about your new role, being able to do full-time ministry here, obviously. But is there anything that you have for like the younger generations that are maybe walking through something similar that you have walked through? Like what would you tell them, pieces of advice or anything?
Man, I think there's so many things. I think even just what you said a second ago, man, when you're like leaning on the Lord, like there isn't really a wrong way. And I think that's something I've learned in the last couple years is just like, I mean, even I think of when we're writing curriculum or doing message prep or whatever, it's like, sometimes I get nervous, like, what if I say the wrong thing? Like, what if I mess up? Or even when you're just telling someone about the Lord or your faith, like, what if I mess up? What if I'm not equipped in this? It's like, man, when you're done, when this is done, laced in prayer and done and with the Lord and you're leaning on him, like, you're not going to mess. Like, it's not your words, it's the Lord's words, and it's the Lord through you. And so it's like, it's not about me, like what I'm going to do wrong, but like it's what the Lord's going to do through you. And I think that's something a lot of young students need to hear, is just like, hey, go be bold and go tell the students next to you, like, who the Lord is to you, and go be bold in your faith, because you're not going to mess it up. And like, when you're being obedient to the Lord and you are being bold in your faith, like, you're not just going to, even if you, like I think of the book of Jonah, like he says 7 words and the Lord uses that. And the 7 words were not great at all. And like the Lord, like the whole town, like surrenders their life to the Lord. Like the Lord's going to use you, even if you feel like you messed up and you don't know what to say, like he will provide the words to you. And so I think that's one big like piece of advice I give to them is like, man, just go be strong in your faith and like depend on the Lord, because he's going to work in that, whatever that may look like, whether it's ministry, whether it's not. But the Lord can like use you in such big ways, but you just need to be obedient and let him use you, and just be faithful in that.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today and taking time out of your Friday. I appreciate that a lot.
Of course.
We'll see y'all next time.